Welcome to PTSD, Bunker Gear for your brain. I'm your host, Carl Waggett, and welcome to the evening PTSD report. Guys, happy Wednesday to each and every one of you. What am I saying? Happy New Year. Yeah, I know it's only about 48 hours into it, but guys, I really hope you're having a good one. I do. It means a lot to me. And guys, that's where we've been doing this whole 2-week special because, guys, I'm not giving up on these New Year's resolutions. Look, I thought they were bullshit myself. I didn't want anything to do with them. I didn't. I figured they were all just, tradition and they never really worked. But you know what? I found out that you can use these New Year's resolutions to build a hell of a platform if you're suffering from this PTSD, depression, and anxiety. Well, anyways, last week what we took a look at was this subject of change. Because look, let me tell you something. If you know how to change, well, you can implement whatever you want in there. See, my biggest problem is there was stuff I wanted to change, but I didn't have a clue how to change. So guess how much I changed? I didn't. No, I just got frustrated, right? But as soon as you start to understand how the brain works a little bit, well, guys, you can start to get a leg up on the situation, and learning about change, guys, can make all the difference in the world. So anyways, that was last week. This week, guys, we're taking a look at the actual gray matter. Now look, okay, fine, it's a little bit more complicated than this, but the stuff that I'm bringing up is stuff that I really think anybody suffering from PTSD, depression, or anxiety should really clamp an eyeball on. So anyways, in the last episode on Monday's Facebook Live, what we took a look at was this, well, you know what? If your brain doesn't want to do something, you're not doing it. And guys, the example that we used in this was, well, this little drinking habit I got. Oh yes, I had a thing for the grapes. I did. I loved them. But the problem was that when I wanted to quit, I found I couldn't. Now look, I'm not a real control freak, but I do like controlling what my own body does. And this really kind of freaked me out a little bit for the simple reason, well, when I wanted to quit, I couldn't, and I couldn't figure out why. Now look, not being able to stop the drinking did, well, one of two things. The first thing it did was, well, it didn't stop me drinking, did it? Right? So I just kept up with the same problem. But the second thing this did was, guys, it kicked the shit out of my self-confidence. And it will do, right? Because look, anybody, you know what? Here's the thing. You can screw anybody over, right? And you're like, oh, okay, well, as long as I don't run into them, right? But the problem is when you screw yourself over, there's nowhere to run from. Yeah, you see, the thing, you've got to face that. And I really started to feel that when I went, I want to quit this, but, well, I don't think I can. So this was really, really confusing for me because as far as I was concerned, our brain was there to help us. Yeah, like if there was something hot and you put your hand on it and it hurt, your brain told you not to put your hand on it, right? But what I couldn't figure out was, look, I knew the wine was hurting me, but it wasn't that I wasn't touching it. I actually wanted to. And I couldn't figure this out because consciously I knew that this new habit that I'd picked up was bad for me. But for some strange reason, my brain kept talking me into this. So I'd had enough of this. Oh yeah, I went to school on this shit. Now, it was a bit embarrassing because, they've got really big words in medical journals. Oh my. You know what? I read a sentence, I'd have to Google 3 words. Oh, there's some big words out there. I'll tell you what, I may use a lot of words, but I don't use very big ones. So this was a disadvantage for me. But guys, I had to figure out why the brain was doing what it was doing. Or why mine was doing it. So anyways, the information that I've got for you guys, I think it's really going to help you. Like I do. It's not really fluff information and that feel-good stuff. No, this is actual science. And when you guys understand how the brain works, well, God, does it give you a leg up in getting what you want out of life? Shall we start? Okay, this will be fun. So anyways, the brain. Like I said, I always thought the brain was like this guardian angel, okay, that kind of pointed you in the right directions to find love and happiness and all that stuff. Because let's be honest, life is such a shit show, right? You should have something up here kind of guiding you in the right direction. And this is the way I thought the brain worked. Sadly, this isn't the case. No, it doesn't work like this at all. You see, the brain really just has one function. Okay, look, it's got a billion functions, all right? But the thing is, it has one solid prime function. And what is that function? Is to make sure you stay alive. Yes, and when I say stay alive, I'm talking about breathing in, breathing out, heart pumping blood. That's it. When we're talking about staying alive, your brain up here gives 0 shits if you ever find fulfillment. Yeah, seriously, couldn't give a squirt if you ever find happiness. And joy, please, it's not even on the radar. The brain doesn't give a shit about that stuff. Hey, don't get me wrong. If you happen to Forrest Gump your way into love or you happen to trip over fulfillment, the brain isn't going to kick it out. But I'll tell you what, the brain, it ain't looking for that. All it's looking for is to make sure that you stay alive, and that's it. Nothing to do with happiness. So, like I said, the brain, all it wants to do is keep you alive. So, how does the brain assess risk? Like, how does it figure out how to keep its host alive? Well, actually, when you hear it, it's actually pretty simple. What the brain does is it associates pain with death. And when you think about it, that's kind of clever, right? A little bit of pain, a little bit of chance of death. A lot of pain, a lot more of a chance of death. But on the other side of the coin, this is the really fascinating thing, is the brain doesn't only just run away from pain, it runs towards pleasure. Okay? Now look, don't confuse pleasure with fulfillment. Okay? Don't ever confuse pleasure with joy or happiness. They're two completely different things, right? Now, as we've established, the brain goes from pain to pleasure. That, who was it? That Sigmund Freud guy. You know, the guy with the cigar always going on about your mother. Bit of a weird bugger. But anyways, he came up with this theory. And you know what? It's absolutely right. You're right. Your brain runs away from pain and goes towards pleasure. And this works out tickety-boo. It works out great. Right up until PTSD gets invited to the party. Shit. Yeah, that's what happens. So, like I said, when your brain is running away from pain, what do you do when your life's painful? What do you run? Yeah, you can see how this gets a little tiny bit confusing. Because the interesting thing is the brain doesn't really determine the difference between physical pain and mental pain. It just registers pain. Yeah. Now think about this for a second, okay? Everybody thinks physical pain is worse, but when you really think about mental pain, guys, that's pretty excruciating too. Okay, look, anybody out there ever stubbed their toe in the middle of the night? Oh, stink, that hurts. Yeah, and you kind of sit there for a second to go, is it broken? Is it broken? I think I can move it. And you don't even want to look at it because you're expecting to see a bone stuck out of the skin. Wow, does it hurt when you stub your toe. But let me ask you this. How much does it hurt when you get a broken heart? Yeah, and I'm not talking one of those broken hearts like, oh, no, it's me. It's not me, it's you or whatever. And you know what? We'll stay friends. No, I'm talking about when somebody rips your heart out of your chest, throws it in a blender and you know what I mean? That kind of broken heart. That's excruciating. That's right. I'll tell you what, I'd rather take a stubbed toe over a broken heart. So there's an example that you would always take physical pain over mental pain. Guys, look at anxiety. Look, if anxiety gets enough, it will bring the biggest of man to their knees. I don't care who it is. You put somebody under enough anxiety and they will crack, and there's no physical pain there whatsoever. Now, the other really interesting thing is, guys, pain and uncomfortable are also very, very close. Think about this for a second. If you're in an uncomfortable situation, how long do you want to stay in it for? You don't, right? Your brain is backpedaling to get you out of it. How about an awkward conversation? Those are always fun, aren't they? Don't you find how you try to get out of those as quick as you can? Because your brain is trying to get you out of these situations. Guys, the best way I find to think of your brain, it's like an overbearing mother. Yeah, she loves you to death. She just doesn't want you to get hurt. Yes, no, don't go out there and chase your dreams. It's cold and dark and there's mean people out there. No, your mother wants you to stay in the house and eat little triangle sandwiches and drink tea and watch reruns of the Golden Girls. Or maybe Coronation Street. I'm not judging. But the fact is mom doesn't want you to go out there and get hurt. And your brain, well, it does the same thing. Right? It doesn't want that pain. So, like I said, it's not that my life was physically painful. No, it's not that I felt pain all the time. But anything outside of work, I found uncomfortable. Yeah. Remember that uncomfortable is very close to pain, right? So, you know what? Going to the mall now where there was a lot of people, it wasn't painful. I wasn't scared of it. It was uncomfortable. I didn't like it. You know what I mean? I get invited to a rock concert or whatever. I don't really feel like going because there's a lot of people there. The fact is, it's an uncomfortable situation and your brain will, well, try to keep you out of it. Now, you know what I did find comfortable? What I did find pleasurable? Yeah, was sitting in the basement with my jammies on, watching John Cusack movies, of course, eating my pizza pie. I'm nice and comfortable. And you know what? I feel pleasure when I was down there because, well, you do. Let's be honest. You're not working. You're sat quiet. Now, here's the thing. It is pleasurable. Yes, no doubt about it. But it's not healthy. No. Well, I'm sat down there drinking 6 or 7 Cokes in 3 hours, right? And eating all kinds of cheddar popcorn or whatever. None of this is healthy, but the problem is it's pleasurable. So my brain wants me to stay there. Yikes. And this is why I couldn't figure out why, you know what, I would stay in these situations that I knew weren't really good for me. So as soon as I started to understand this pain to pleasure thing, guess what, guys? The alcohol made total sense, didn't it? Yeah. You know, unlike the example I used in the start of the Facebook Live there about touching something hot, well, guys, the thing is that I said in the on Monday night show there that when I was drinking I felt great, but when I didn't I felt shitty, right? So you know what, you drink for 4 hours a day or whatever, the other 20 you feel shitty, well, your brain only remembers the pleasure from it. So as far as your brain's concerned, okay, so we feel shitty all day and now we're going to take away the pleasure? I don't think so. And that's why I found, as hard as it was, to just, well, not go get this wine anymore. And you know, guys, you can use alcohol in there, but guys, you can put anything else in there. You put food in there, right? There's another one. If food gives you pleasure when you're eating, it doesn't matter how much you're clogging up your arteries. Your brain doesn't care about that. It's just after the pleasure. Drugs is another one. Hey, I'll tell you what, one that people don't talk about is sex. Oh, yes. What a dirty subject. And guys, I'm not talking about love. I'm talking about sex. Ew. Dirty parking lot sex. Ew. Terrible stuff. But the fact is that it brings you pleasure. Because guys, look, you don't have to be good at sex to enjoy it. Trust me on this one. I've said too much. Anyways, let's forget about that fact. But the fact is that sex brings pleasure. And the thing is, if you're in a lot of pain, well, your mind seeks that out, doesn't it? You know, you think about people that are constantly trying to find pleasure, whether it be, you know, a vacation or a new car or, you know, new girlfriends, new boyfriends. These people that are constantly chasing pleasure, those are the ones that sometimes feel the most pain. Yeah, you want to have a lot of fun? Yeah, think of somebody at your work that's always looking for a good time, right? Always at all the parties. Yeah, I think you'll find those people that are constantly looking for pleasure, they're the ones that feel the most pain. And when you start to see it through these eyes, that's when you really start to understand how dangerous this stuff is. Right? Because it's this terrible, vicious pattern that goes down. And we're going to talk about that later on more. But guys, you really kind of start to understand where, okay, look, here's the gig. My mind's looking for pleasure. Guys, the worst part about it is when you're in that much pain and your mind wants pleasure, it doesn't give a shit about the risks that come with it. All right, think about it. Okay, sex is probably one of the most dangerous things you can do out there. Whether it be, you know, you're meeting a psychopath or disease or you know what? Your husband or wife found out about it. Oh my word, none of this is any good. But the problem is when you are in that much pain and your body is seeking pleasure, it'll find it. Yeah, it will. And not knowing how this plays out, guys, this is where things can get extremely confusing for people, right? Why am I doing these things when they're just making my life harder and harder? Guys, this is what happens when the wiring gets a little messed up with the PTSD, depression, anxiety. Now you can see why it's so important to, you know, find a doctor or a therapist to help you navigate your way through this. All right, well, look, here's another interesting fun fact about the brain. The brain's really bad at predicting the future, all right? Now, I'm not saying that we don't daydream about the future. I'm not saying that for a second. We all think about what it's going to be like in the future. But your brain, the gray noodle, it lives in the now. Yeah, it does not give a shit about 15 minutes from now. Could not care less, right? And the thing is we see this in the best example with working out, all right? Look, not talking crazy working out here, but I think we can all agree that if we got 3 days, okay, a week, let's say Monday, Wednesday, Friday working out, and you did 45 minutes of physical exercise to the point of sweating, in 3 months, your life would be better. Sure it would. Yes, of course it would. Your flexibility would be better. Your breathing would be better. Probably your diet would be better because anybody who starts working out a lot finds that they start eating better foods. Yeah, because the body demands good food, right? So in 3 months, you know that you would feel better if you worked out, right? So why is it so hard to get your running shoes on? Yeah, because what happens is your brain recognizes pain and it shuts you down. Yeah, as soon as it starts to feel pain. Look, anybody who works out constantly, well, they have the ability to override that part of their brain, right? But if you don't know this part is there to override, well, it's going to shut you down every single time, right? Because your brain doesn't care about the long-term benefits of working out. Couldn't care less. All it knows is that it feels pain right now. And look, anybody who works out constantly, everybody knows that the first 10, 15 minutes of working out sucks. And then it's not so bad. Well, that's your brain constantly trying to talk you out of it. Oh, I gotta have a drink. I'm too tired. I'm getting dry. So anyways, that's something to keep in mind with the working out. That's why everybody has so much problems working out, because the brain is right there going, excuse me, pain? Yeah, I don't care. We're not doing this. And not only that, guys, sometimes you'll even notice with working out that your brain will stop you before you even get in the gym. Isn't it weird when you've got a workout that you don't want to do? Maybe legs day, I don't know. But all of a sudden your day gets really busy and you can't work out that day? Yeah, sometimes your brain will jump in and shut you down before you do something painful. Now look, another reason why working out is so difficult for people is because it messes with your daily routine. Okay, and this is more important than you think. Okay, think about this for a second. If you're going to work out 3 times a week for 45 minutes, that doesn't sound like a lot, does it? But the problem is, we're not going to pull 45 minutes out of our ass, are we? No, we're going to have to reschedule the whole day. You know, you've probably got, what, a 15-minute drive to the gym, 15-minute drive back. So that's another half an hour on top of your 45 minutes. You know what, you're going to have a shower after. By the time you're done, you're racking up like almost an hour and a half, 2 hours here, right? Think about it. So the problem is you're going to have to move all your schedule around in order to fit that in. Brain's not good with this. No. The reason why the brain enjoys patterns so much, and the reason why it puts us all in patterns, I know we all think we're wild childs, but trust me, we're in a lot more patterns than we think. The reason why our brain does this is so it can anticipate pain. You know, like I was saying earlier with the brain, how it always goes away from pain towards pleasure. Well, the thing is your brain starts to figure out that I don't want pain just showing up. Okay, I want to be able to anticipate it. And the way that you anticipate pain is by staying in a pattern. Think about it. The way that I always explain this is my dark room experience. Okay, let's say we take a room that's 20 by 20, but it's completely blacked out. Okay, and in this room, I put some furniture down and maybe some Lego pieces or whatever. It doesn't really matter, right? But I make you stand on one end of the wall, and I make you walk to the other side of the wall. Now, the first time you do it, you're going to bang into all kinds of shit, aren't you? Right? But if I make you do that 20 or 30 times, you will start to walk in a pattern to avoid the things that hurt you. Right? Your brain will take a picture of this. Anybody who's had young kids that has shit all over their floor and they go in to kiss the little one goodnight, you know exactly where to stand so you don't step on the Ninja Turtle and makes that noise and wakes a kid up. Tragic situation. But the thing is that our brain will put us in patterns like this to stop us from getting in trouble. So like that dark room experience, after 20 or 30 times walking back and forth, I bet you'd be able to make it from one side to the other without banging into something. Now guys, on a bigger scale, this is what our brain does in day-to-day with us. Think about this for a second. When you drive to work, I bet there's 2 or 3, maybe even 4 different ways that you can drive to work. Forget about the time difference, but I bet you drive the same way every time. Right? Because that's what we do. We stay in patterns. I don't want to get too graphic here, but when you're in the shower, I bet you wash yourself the same way. Yeah. And you know what? When you brush your teeth, it's always with the same hand. Hey, you want to have a good laugh tomorrow? Brush your teeth with the wrong hand. Yeah, you know what's going to happen? You're going to stab the shit out of yourself, right? It's going to cause a bunch of pain, and your brain's not good with that. But I'll tell you what, if you stuck with that other hand, eventually your brain would learn how to. Yeah, but it's always going to avoid pain. Now, like I said, this all works out fine and dandy till PTSD gets invited to the party. Now, let's say we stick in these patterns to avoid pain, but what if we're in, like I said, one of these vicious downward spirals? Okay? Where our pattern actually is the pain. That's where things get dangerous. Okay? Because the brain starts to panic a little bit. Because when it's in pain, what does it do? It tries to go back to patterns, right? But the problem is the pattern that you're in is destructive. So you just keep repeating it over and over and over again. Look, let's use me, for instance, right? With the wine. Last little fun fact I'm going to leave with the brain with you. Your brain will always take pain it knows over pain it doesn't know, right? That's why inherently we're always afraid of the unknown, right? That's always, because even our brain will take pain it knows over it doesn't know. So when it's in these vicious cycles of going down and you're doing all this bad behavior or whatever, the fact of the matter is let's take me, for instance, like I was saying, I drink 2 bottles of wine a night, whatever. That's not good for me. I consciously know that, but my brain thinks, well, it might be more painful if we don't. Yeah. And that's the problem. And unless you know what you're fighting there, well, you'll stick with the pain that you know. That's easier, right? Because if I quit that might bring a whole new whack of pain that I'm not ready for. Even though it may be less pain, and it is less pain, the fact is the brain's not good with that because it can't see the future. See, guys, I had no idea the brain worked like this, right? But the second that an individual starts to understand this, the brain moving from pain towards pleasure, right? And, it really starts to understand that, okay, you know what? Our mind does put us in patterns. So, you know what? There's a huge benefit to make sure that I'm in a good pattern. Because the problem, if I stick with a bad pattern, my brain's going to copy it. And then once you realize that your brain, it's living in the now, right now, okay? It doesn't care a week from now. So, this is the thing. You know what? You're dying for a cigarette right now? Well, guess what? It's not going to be like that in the future. It only feels like that right now. But the thing that used to get me about quitting smoking was I used to feel this nicotine and think, oh my God, I can't live like this for the rest of my life. Look, talk to anybody who's quit smoking. Over time, look, you may think about cigarettes from time to time, but you don't feel it all the time like that. Now, once you start to understand those three really main things, the pain to pleasure, huge one, that the brain always moves in patterns and that it lives in the now. Once you start to understand that, well, this is when you can finally step up to the plate. Yeah. Now you can seriously start fighting back against this shit. And now look, not for a second am I saying it's going to be comfortable. No, it's not comfortable. But the thing is that with understanding this stuff, you will be able to move towards where you want to get to. And guys, there's something about knowing you're moving in the right direction. It doesn't matter if it takes 20 years to get there. If you know you're moving in the right direction, you can keep going that way. The only time people start to lose hope is when they get lost at sea and they don't even know where they're sailing anymore, right? You can't work hard at something if you don't even know you're moving in the right direction. So like I said before, my biggest problem was, why would you argue with your brain? Not understanding any of this stuff, as far as I'm concerned, arguing with your brain, that is crazy, right? It really is. But you really have to understand that your brain is just a program. That's it. It's really that simple. And unfortunately, your brain really doesn't know the difference between sex and drugs and love and passion. Like, all four of them will give you pleasure, right? They really, really will. But the thing is that the sex and the drugs, you can get that faster. You know what I mean? Love, compassion, forgiveness, or love, compassion, fulfillment, joy. Dude, that takes a long time to get, right? Booze, no problem. You can get booze pretty much everywhere. So like I said, I would have loved to fill this gap in my life with love and compassion and fulfillment, but it was a hell of a lot easier just to get wine. Right? Let's be honest. It really, really was. And I didn't even know how to go on one of these journeys to fix myself. Like, seriously, I didn't have a clue, right? But I knew exactly where the wine store was. And I knew that would fix the problem. I mean, it's kind of funny looking back on it now, but at the time, what's your options? Right? You're in pain. Whether you understand the pain or not, your body's going to seek pleasure. And the problem is, if you take the short route to pleasure, it can get a bit greasy. It really can. You want to stay away from that side. But guys, not knowing any different, why wouldn't you move towards this? So what is my time? Oh my word. Guys, I'm closing in. I got to let you go. You know how this is. Well, look, guys, I've got a fascinating podcast for you tomorrow morning. Guys, it's the subject of fear. Oh, son of a bitch. Look, sometimes this is good, sometimes it's bad. Like, don't get me wrong. I'm not poo-pooing fear. Fear has kept a lot of very good people alive. There's no doubt about that. But the problem is when you get on the wrong side of this shit, it'll cripple you. Oh yeah, it will. And the problem is, fear will get in there with the brain and really do a number on you. So guys, that's what the podcast's about tomorrow morning. And I'm going to release that, and then obviously the Facebook Live on Friday night at 9:30 Eastern Standard Time. So guys, listen, before I let you go, because I should let you go. It's getting a bit late. But guys, if you're struggling with this stuff, right, and you're having problems with this PTSD, depression, anxiety, and you're looking for a bit of a support group, hey, I might just know one. I'll tell you what, do. You send me a friendship request to Carl Wagon on Facebook there, and I'll send you an invitation to the bunker room. Yes, I called it the bunker room because, look, in the firehouse, if you had something to get sorted, you went into the bunker room. You sorted it out, and then you came back out again. It's a wonderful, magical place. So I've created one on Facebook. So if that's in your wheelhouse, and that's something that you're interested in, guys, send me a friendship request. I'll send you an invitation to that. So, guys, like I said, I am just scratching the surface on the brain. Please don't think for a second this is all there is to it. But this is, like I said, the stuff that you really want to clamp your eyeball down on, right? The whole thing about the pain to pleasure. Guys, research this. That Sigmund Freud guy, you know, the one with the stogie, always talking about your mom. Ooh, he was strange. You should read up on that guy. But the thing is, he had a lot of really good information about this. And you know what? The pattern thing is the one that fascinated me the most. And just how much our brain does put us in patterns, regardless if it's good or bad, it will stick to that. And guys, the fact that our brain always lives in the now, knowing that little bit of information, guys, working out, that's a problem of the past. No joke, it really is. Look, I don't care how much workout equipment you have or what tapes you have. I'll tell you what, you get this thing on board, you'll have no problem with it. No, you really won't. Because once you start to communicate with your brain a little bit, I know it sounds weird, but you can kind of get on the same side and say, okay, look, I know this next hour is going to suck, but guess what it's going to do for the rest of our lives? When that happens, guys, beautiful things happen. So anyways, guys, as always, I would keep you on here all night because I miss you guys, and I love my Monday, Wednesday, Friday night show. A lot of fun. As always, thank you so much, guys, for stopping by. Means the world to me. I'm going to grab myself a sody pop, then I'll jump back in the comment section here. But guys, as always, thanks so much. I do love it when you stop by, and I'll have that podcast for you tomorrow morning and the next Facebook Live Friday night, 9:30 Eastern Standard Time. You guys take care of yourself. We'll talk again soon.